A lot of people hate political parties, which is justified given the shower we are presented with.
Comrades.
Comrades.
Trans comrades. Trans comrade.
Many throughout history and today want to create a political system without parties to minimize some of the insane situations they create, such as tribalism or the inherent contradictory policy positions a large tent will produce. This position has been proven obviously untenable in application. The advantages of parties are just too high. Primarily, the procedural, in the clear transition of power from one group to another, whether in government or in a debate. Secondly, the representative, an average person being able to determine what values and ideals a candidate from X party should stand for. For examples, I'll be focusing on the UK and taking data from the Politics UK textbook, because it is recommended for university students and I paid for it, so I might as well get my money out of it. Although being a university textbook, it does have some weird leftist commentary throughout, which I have become rather attended to.
Solidarity, comrades!
I still can't believe Theresa May almost lost to that. Absurdity number 1, party membership. Becoming a member of a political party has immense benefits to your political power, the simplest being able to elect the leader and thus the direction of the party before it goes to a general election, where the entire electorate get to vote on which one of them rules. You literally get to be part of those determining who the schmucks can even vote for. And yet few bother. In the UK, party membership made up 1% of the electorate in 2013, at roughly about 500,000 people joining political parties, a far cry from the roughly 4 million in 1950. The primary reason normally given is that most of them ideologically come off as all the same, and as a result, simply vehicles for the connected and wealthy to control the law of the land. This is obviously true, demonstrated by the increasingly professional nature of politicians.
Yes, what a marvellous Chancellor he is, Conference.
And of course is eternally proven by our comrade, John Bercow.
Colleagues, or if I can be permitted to say, comrades.
For some reason, the idiots who wrote this textbook came up with a different theory. This may be more appropriate to an age in which individualized self-expression has become more important than shared collectivist identities like class, and in which group identities based around race, gender, sexuality, and other characteristics are more important mobilizers of political feeling. As if wokeism isn't just the sublimation of the Marxist view of class with race, gender, sexuality, etc. Anyway, moving on. Absurdity number 2, the Conservative Party. Here is one way on how to do a political party, a top-down, leader-dominated organisation. Policy and direction are almost entirely at the whim of the leader, with the primary check being a leadership election. Of course, after the MPs have had an election and decide on the 2 candidates the membership can even vote on. A very conservative system that helps keep the professional aspects of the party in power. However, the members can present the MPs with a candidate most didn't back, such as in 2001, where, quote, members presented Conservative MP with Ian Duncan Smith. Of course, there are ways to avoid all this membership voting stuff, such as in 2003 when MPs held Smith in no confidence, and he was replaced by the pro-EU Michael Howard, because he was the only candidate MPs put forward. Or in 2016, when Theresa May was installed as the only candidate after Andrea Leadsom withdrew from the competition, stating, quote, that her support amongst MPs was not enough, quote, to lead a strong and stable government should I win the leadership election. Which, God, that makes that slogan even worse.
So that we have the strong and stable leadership we need. Strong and stable leadership with me.
This system obviously has its advantages. Mostly that you can get shit done, and quickly. That kind of stability might not be important to a non-country such as Belgium, but when there are serious partners relying on you to get your shit together, it's paramount. However, the disadvantage being that, quote, party elites maintain a decisive advantage over members in settling the leadership, and thus screwing over the party ideology of its members. I know some people will say that party ideology does not help defend the party, but it is what makes the party worth defending. Speaking of ideology, absurdity number 3, the Labour Party. I mean, this is amazing. Did you know that the Labour Party used to debate entirely new policies at their conference but stopped due to embarrassment? Yeah, that worked.
You have nothing to lose but your chains!
The Labour Party used to only use MPs to elect its leader. When they discovered that they were also insane, they moved on to an electoral college system where trade unions, MPs, and members got votes each. In 2014, Ed Miliband decided that the rules that elected him would lead to disaster, and so changed them to one member, one vote. Because at least the membership is sane, right? Right? It was thought that this might encourage participation by more moderate members and supporters, whose votes would swamp those of activists and thus help ensure the election of a leader with a broad electoral appeal.
Go forward to win an election for the people of this country.
Well, that went well, didn't it? I mean, he did set the price of a vote at what, like £3? I mean, what did he think was going to happen? This obviously ended up leading to absurd situations such as when Owen Smith tried to replace Corbyn, winning over 96%, nice, of Labour MPs, but being shot down by the members. Meaning Corbyn now also had to deal with the fact that 69% of his MPs opposed him. But they had no means of removing him by a no-confidence vote, thanks to the insistence on democratic leadership by the members. I'm sure the advantages and disadvantages of the alternative system are evident. Primarily,
if we don't get our shit together, Boris Johnson is going to win.
And I think these comparisons are enough to demonstrate the structural problems as to why both parties are what they are. Why the left endlessly whines about infighting, and why the right endlessly whines about being betrayed by their leaders. I mean, do you really think Conservative voters approve of Carrie Johnson's endorsement of the leftist alphabet soup over the cause of tolerance? There isn't much more that needs to be said of parties, I think. The nitty-gritty details are not important, only the overarching structure. But let's have a quick look at the most criminal part of modern politics, which again, both parties look the same on. Absurdity number 4. Diversity and selection. Quote, a key aim has also been to provide a more diverse representation, particularly in terms of the number of female and ethnic minority candidates. Why? And from whom does this key aim for equality of outcome come from? Of course, this textbook can't help itself by calling you a bigot for not wanting socialist doctrines. Quote, this has often, however, been against the will and the instincts of local membership, who, as well as jealously guarding their privileges, may be inclined to stick to existing patterns of what they think an MP should look like. The privileges here being able to live in a liberal meritocracy, as opposed to the disservice of being raised in a society run on equality of outcome doctrine. For demonstrable advantage of the former, look no further than Kemi Badenoch versus Labour Diversity Hire number 5. Quote, for example, Labour's application of all-women shortlists in winnable seats. So, seats where the socialist doctrine does not have to prove itself. They continue, all-women shortlists has sought to apply a form of positive discrimination to ensure a balance of representation. It was initially subject to a successful legal challenge, but the passing of the Sex Discrimination Act 2002 allowed the party to continue the practice. So it was obviously declared illegal and immoral, so the Labour government just changed the law. Quote, however, when Maggie Jones was selected to contest the safe seat of Blaenau Gwent in 2005's general election using all-women shortlists, Peter Law ran against her as an independent and won by a significant margin. Right, so get this straight. A guy running with no party backing can BTFO this obvious corruption. Because guess what? The British public rightly perceive this to be criminal. Also, significant margin is a hell of an understatement. This dude destroyed her. So after this failed Labour experiment, the Conservatives adopted it. Quote, David Cameron sought to promote greater diversity via a priority list of candidates. On this list were 100 high-caliber candidates. At least 50 were to be female. It was also to include ethnic minority candidates, although the precise proportion was undefined. Local parties selecting candidates in winnable seats were henceforth expected to select from the list, which was controversial among activists and something which many constituencies sought to resist. No Sherlock. Imagine spending your evening, for years, knocking on doors for a party, helping them build electoral support. Eventually, a majority of those members in the branch trust you to represent them as a candidate. It's bad enough being told, sorry, this random guy who is higher in the party hierarchy is replacing you because he did the leader a favour, but at least it's understandable. Being told, sorry, you have insufficient melanin, is not. Summation. Measures like this simply demonstrated how centrally controlled the party had become. Members have virtually no rights, and a small group dominates, who had now even begun to undermine the right to select local party candidates. And instead, do it along their race and sex. Anyway, that's enough of Callum whines about a textbook. Hope that was enjoyable. Hope we learned a thing or two. Bye. To contest the safe seat of... Oh, I need to look that up. Blaenau Gwent